Zara slammed the car door so hard the metal rattled, startling the birds that had perched on the window sill. Her hand trembled, but she clenched it into a fist, forcing herself to breathe slowly. The sun was barely up, and the Lagos streets were alive with honking cars and vendors shouting prices. She didn't notice any of it. Her mind replayed Tosin's words from last night, the way he had leaned back in his chair with that smug expression, telling her almost gleefully that perhaps it was time he considered other options since she had only given him daughters. Another wife, she whispered, the words tasting bitter. Her 7-year-old daughter, Amara, peeked from behind the couch, eyes wide. "Mama, are you going to cry?" Zara forced a tight smile, hiding the storm inside. "No, sweetheart. Mama's fine." But her heart wasn't. She remembered the whispered conversations behind closed doors, the sly remarks about her inability to produce a son, and the subtle smirk of Mama Funk, Tosin's mother, who seemed to delight in Zara's quiet suffering. Breakfast was mechanical. She poured cereal into bowls, tied ribbons in the girl's hair, and handed Amara her lunchbox, all while her thoughts were elsewhere. Each tick of the clock pressed against her chest, and the dread in her stomach grew heavier with every second. She had ignored it long enough. Something was happening, she could feel it in the air, in Tosin's distant tone, in Mama Funk's two bright smiles. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She frowned and swiped to open the message. A video. She hesitated before tapping it, a sinking feeling clawing at her throat. There he was. Tosin, dressed in traditional agbada, standing beside a young woman in a wedding gown, grinning like the whole world had conspired to make her invisible. The caption scrolled beneath the video. Finally, a new beginning for the Okoro family. Zara felt the room spin. Her legs weakened, but she stayed upright, staring at the screen as if it might offer some hidden explanation. Her breath came fast and shallow. How long had this been going on? How many people knew before her? She glanced at the girls. They were watching her, sensing the rupture, their small hands clutching each other. She tried calling Tosin. Nothing. Multiple times. The calls went unanswered. The silence from him was heavier than any words, louder than any confrontation could ever be. Her throat ached with unshed words, but she swallowed them, forcing herself to think clearly. Tears didn't come, not yet. She had survived 12 years of marriage, 12 years of subtle cruelty, dismissive remarks, and quiet sacrifices. She wouldn't break now. The memory of their university days crept into her mind. The way Tosin had laughed when she spilled coffee on his notes, the way they had walked along the campus lake, hands brushing, hearts racing with young love and promise. The hope she had once carried now felt like a distant echo, almost cruel in its contrast to this betrayal. Zara's eyes softened as she glanced at her daughters. These girls, with their messy curls and bright eyes, deserved more than a home where love was conditional, where respect was measured by what she could produce. She breathed in deeply, feeling a strange calm settle over her fury. She would act. She would reclaim what was hers, and she would teach Tosin, Mama Funk, and anyone else who doubted her that strength was not always loud. Sometimes it was quiet, deliberate, unstoppable. The first step was numbers. Her boutique had flourished over the years. Every naira saved, every bill paid, every loan she had extended to the family, all documented. She pulled out her laptop and began calculating, transferring funds to accounts Tosin had no access to. Over 5 years, she had contributed more than 8,200,000 naira to support the household, the car, the apartment, Mama Funk's medications, and her children's schooling. Every penny documented, every sacrifice accounted for. Mama Funk would not see it coming. Tosin certainly wouldn't. But Zara would. She felt the first flicker of empowerment since the morning began, and it ignited something fierce in her chest. Amara tugged at her sleeve. "Mama, are we going to be okay?" Zara knelt, holding her daughter's face. "We will be more than okay, baby. We're going to be strong, and we're going to be free." She kissed her forehead and stood tall, as if the sun itself had lent her courage. The day stretched on. The neighborhood hummed with life outside, unaware of the storm brewing in apartment 4B of the high-rise on Ikoyi Road. Zara moved through her tasks with mechanical precision, folding boutique deliveries, paying suppliers online, and packing school lunches. Yet every step was charged with quiet fury, every action layered with purpose. At noon, she found a moment of respite in her office, Her laptop opened to financial records. The numbers were staggering. She realized how much of herself she had poured into this family, unnoticed, unappreciated. But it wasn't just money, it was strategy. She had been laying the groundwork for her liberation without even realizing it. Her phone buzzed again. This time a text from Evelyn, the young woman in the wedding video. "I'm so excited to join the family. I hope we'll get along." Zara read it twice before a laugh escaped her. Evelyn's innocence was as naive as it was convenient for Mama Funk's schemes. This young woman believed she was entering a loving, secure household. She had no idea she was stepping into a storm Zara had been quietly preparing for. Zara leaned back in her chair. The calm after the storm had not yet come, but she knew it was near. She had counted the costs, understood the manipulations, and now she would act. Not in desperation, not in tears, but with precision. She opened her boutique social media page and drafted a post, not yet published, but a reminder of who she was beyond this betrayal. Strength is not about staying where you are. It's about knowing when to move forward. The girls called her for lunch and she smiled at them, practicing her serene composure. But beneath that smile her mind raced, mapping every conversation, every confrontation to come. Tosin had underestimated her. Mama Funk had miscalculated her resilience. And Evelyn, well, she would soon realize that stepping into a household built on manipulation had consequences. By evening Zara had a plan. She would consult a lawyer, confirm the legal status of the apartment, transfer funds discreetly, and prepare her daughters for the next step. Each action was deliberate. She would not run. She would move forward strategically. And when the moment came, Tosin would see the strength he had ignored for years. Mama Funk would understand that power was not always wielded in anger. Sometimes it was wielded in quiet, unstoppable determination. As the Lego sunset painted the sky in amber and gold, Zara stood by the window, her daughters playing at her feet. She whispered to herself almost as a vow, "I am not just surviving, I am preparing to rise." And in that vow, the first sparks of true liberation ignited. The next morning Zara awoke before dawn. The city was quieter than usual, but inside her chest a storm raged. She dressed quickly, careful to maintain the appearance of normalcy for her daughters, who were still rubbing sleep from their eyes. Amara yawned, tugging at her hair, and Zara knelt to straighten a stray ribbon. "Are you mad at Papa, Mama?" Amara asked, her small voice wary. Zara held her close. "No, baby. Sometimes people make choices we don't understand. But we'll be okay, I promise." It was a promise she intended to keep, not with hope alone but with action. After sending the girls to school, Zara returned to her apartment, where her laptop and financial records waited. Every spreadsheet, every transaction over the past 5 years, was evidence of the life she had built. Alone, unnoticed, undervalued. She ran the numbers again, making sure she hadn't overlooked anything. Personal loans, bills, the car, the apartment rent, Mama Funk's medications, the children's tuition, all totaled more than 8.2 million naira. Her fingers hovered over the mouse, considering each transfer. She would move funds discreetly out of Tosin's reach. By the end of the day, her financial independence would be concrete. It was more than just money. It was leverage, safety, and the foundation for her next steps. A soft knock on the door startled her. Evelyn stood there, her bright smile awkward against the tension in the room. She carried a small bouquet of flowers, clearly meant as a peace offering, or a gesture of goodwill. "Good morning, Mrs. Zara," Evelyn said, her voice tentative. I thought I'd come by and introduce myself properly. I know this is a big change for everyone, but I really hope we can get along." Zara measured her carefully. Evelyn was young, unaware of the full web she had stepped into. She could be dangerous if manipulated by Mama Funk, but right now she was naive, perfectly naive. "Thank you," Zara said evenly. "You're welcome to visit, but you should understand this is still my home, my daughter's home. Nothing has changed there." Her voice was calm but her eyes were sharp. Evelyn nodded quickly, the bouquet still in her hands, before backing away politely. Once the door clicked shut, Zara exhaled slowly. Evelyn had no idea what she was walking into, and that was exactly how it should be. Later that afternoon, Zara sat with her lawyer, a sharp woman named Mrs. Obiora, who had been briefed on the apartment's ownership and her financial contributions. The lawyer reviewed documents, nodding at each one with professional approval. "You have everything in order," Mrs. Obiora said. "Apartment, funds, and documented loans. If you choose to leave, you'll be fully protected. And with the records you have, any attempts by Tosin or his family to claim financial support from you will be baseless." Zara felt a swell of relief. She had been preparing this silently for years without realizing it. Now she had the tools to reclaim her life. Her thoughts drifted to her daughters Amara and Zina. They had already sensed the cracks in their family, even at 7 and 10. Therapy would be necessary. She would arrange sessions to help them process this. But more importantly, she needed to model strength, resilience, and self-respect. The next few days were a blur of careful planning. Zara moved small sums to a separate account, transferred boutique profits, and created contingency plans for daily life once she moved out. She continued running her business, interacting with clients, answering emails, but every action had purpose beyond the obvious. She was reclaiming her power piece by piece. Meanwhile, Mama Funk was at her side, orchestrating Evelyn's introduction into the family. Every visit was calculated. Tea at the apartment, compliments on her appearance, subtle comments about the importance of male heirs. She used scripture, tradition, and guilt as tools, pressing Tosin further while maintaining a facade of warmth for Evelyn. Zara observed the changes in Tosin closely. He had grown distant over the past week, avoiding eye contact, speaking in clipped tones, and asking Zara to handle more of the household finances. He didn't yet realize that the power balance had shifted. One evening, Tosin called her from work, his voice casual but carrying an edge Zara had not heard before. "Zara, I expect the accounts to be ready for review tonight. I'll be home late, so handle the girls' dinner and ensure Mama Funk's medication is ordered. I'll sort the rest when I get back." Zara's fingers froze on the keyboard. For a moment, the old fear and frustration flared, but she quelled it with a controlled breath. She typed her reply. "Everything is in order, Tosin. Don't worry about a thing." She knew she would not fear him anymore. Not for money, not for control, not for tradition. She had prepared for this confrontation for months, and the day it arrived, she would be ready. Days passed. Evelyn became more frequent in her visits, unaware of the tension simmering beneath polite smiles. Zara remained calm, welcoming when necessary, but emotionally distant. A mirror reflecting the truth Evelyn could not yet see. One afternoon, Zara overheard Mama Funk on the phone, whispering urgently, "The wedding must happen before she realizes the full truth. If she discovers the accounts or the apartment, she'll destroy everything we've planned. Do not let her suspect." Zara paused behind the door, her pulse quickening. She smiled, a slow, deliberate smile. She had suspected, and now she knew it was time. She spent that evening gathering documents. Bank statements, receipts, proof of medical payments, lease agreements for the apartment, and notes detailing every loan and contribution she had made to the household. Each page was a testament to the years she had sacrificed silently, yet with purpose. Finally, she called her daughters into her room. "Girls, we're going to make some changes," she said, her voice firm but gentle. "Everything is going to be okay. I've been planning this for a long time, and we will be stronger for it. Do you understand?" Amara nodded, her hand in Zara's. Zina's eyes were wide but trusting. "Yes, Mama," they said in unison. The following morning, Zara's boutique opened with renewed vigor. Orders had doubled, investors had inquired, and she felt a sense of clarity she had not known in years. She paused mid-transaction, glanced at the camera she had set up for her online social media updates, and whispered to herself, "Stay strong, stay focused, and never doubt yourself. This is the beginning." And in that moment, she knew she was ready to face the wedding day, ready to confront Tosin and Mama Funk, and ready to take her life back entirely. The morning of the wedding arrived like a quiet storm. Lagos was sweltering, the sun climbing faster than usual, and Zara moved through her apartment with deliberate calm. She dressed simply, her daughters in neat school uniforms, hair perfectly braided. Every step was measured, every gesture purposeful. She had long since learned that appearances mattered, not for Tosin or Mama Funk, but for her daughters. Strength was shown in composure, not chaos. "Are we really doing this today, Mama?" Zina asked, voice small and cautious. "Yes, baby," Zara said, smoothing her daughter's sleeve. "But remember, we're doing this with our heads held high. Nothing they do can take away who we are." Amara tugged at her mother's skirt. But what about Papa? Zara leaned down and looked her daughters in the eyes. He made his choice. Today we focus on us. Our strength, our courage. And soon we'll have our own home, our own space where no one can tell us who to be. At the boutique, Zara moved with precision. Orders were ready, clients greeted, and the social media live updates scheduled. Her public world ran smoothly, even as her private one teetered on the edge. She checked her phone once. No calls from Tosin. Of course not. He didn't dare face her yet. Mama Funk arrived early at the apartment, her usual smile plastered across her face. She brought Evelyn, who had dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, unaware that she was stepping into a carefully constructed trap. Mama Funk's voice dripped with false warmth. Zara dear, I hope you don't mind me bringing Evelyn by. We thought it would be nice for everyone to start the day together, she said, setting down a tray of tea. Zara nodded politely, her eyes sharp. Of course. Welcome, Evelyn. She gestured for the young woman to sit, and Evelyn complied, unaware of the tension simmering beneath Zara's calm. Once the door closed behind Mama Funk, Zara turned to her daughters. Girls, listen carefully. Today nothing will rattle you. Stay together, and if anything feels wrong, come to me immediately. The wedding ceremony was scheduled for mid-morning. Zara had rehearsed the confrontation over and over in her mind. How to remain composed, how to present her evidence, how to assert control without resorting to anger. She had spent nights drafting letters, gathering receipts, and planning her exit strategy. Today, all of that preparation would come to fruition. At the venue, Tosin was nervously adjusting his agbada. Evelyn hovered nearby, radiant and oblivious, while Mama Funk whispered instructions into his ear. The ceremony itself proceeded with traditional prayers, blessings, and the customary exchange of gifts. But Zara's eyes were elsewhere, scanning, measuring, calculating. When Tosin excused himself, claiming a business matter, Zara's pulse quickened. She had anticipated this. She had known he would try to delay any confrontation, avoid public scrutiny. But she was ready. Back at the apartment, Zara called her lawyer. Everything is in order, she said firmly. I'll present the documents when he returns. Make sure everything is prepared for legal transfer of the funds and the property tomorrow. No mistakes. The lawyer confirmed, and Zara hung up. Her daughters were beside her, holding her hands tightly. We're ready, Mama? Zena asked. We're ready, Zara said, taking a deep breath. We've been ready for a long time. When Tosin and Mama Funk finally returned, the air in the apartment shifted. Zara met Tosin at the doorway, calm and unwavering. The smile he expected to see, the one of fear, guilt, or submission, did not appear. Welcome home, Zara said, her voice even but laced with steel. I trust the ceremony went well? Tosin blinked. Yes. Everything went fine. His words were clipped, defensive. Zara gestured toward a chair. Sit. We need to discuss a few matters regarding the household and finances. Mama Funk's eyes narrowed. Zara, this is hardly the time. No, Mama Funk, Zara interrupted gently yet firmly. It is exactly the time. We have waited too long for clarity. She opened her briefcase and began laying out documents. Bank statements, receipts, apartment ownership papers, lists of contributions to bills, medical expenses, school fees, and the car. Every page she presented was a testament to the years of labor, care, and financial responsibility she had carried silently. Tosin leaned forward, scanning the pages. This can't all be right. Zara met his gaze. It is right. And it is legally documented. Every naira I have contributed to this family, to the household, to your comfort is accounted for. And now I have chosen to reclaim what is mine. Mama Funk gasped, placing a hand over her mouth. You can't. This is not how things are done. Zara stood taller. I am not here to debate tradition. I am here to assert my rights. I will be moving out with my daughters in 2 weeks. From that day, this household is no longer my responsibility. Your second wife is welcome to take over. But I will no longer finance, support, or tolerate manipulation. Evelyn's face paled and she took a step back. I didn't. You didn't know, Zara said softly. And that's exactly why I planned this carefully. You've stepped into a household where things are not as they seemed. It's not about blame, it's about truth. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner and the quickened breaths of those present. Zara's calm, composed voice carried through the tension like a drumbeat. She had anticipated every argument, every plea, every attempt to guilt her. And she was prepared. "I've consulted a lawyer," she continued, her eyes sweeping across Mama Funk, Tosin, and Evelyn. "I have ensured that all legal measures protect me and my daughters. From today onward, you are responsible for the choices you've made. I will no longer be part of the consequences of your actions." Mama Funk's lips trembled. "But this is shameful. Culturally, morally." Zara shook her head. "Shame is not mine to carry. I've lived years in silence, managing everything quietly, and now I choose freedom. You cannot manipulate what is already documented and planned." Tosin sank into the chair, his hands covering his face. He had expected tears, perhaps a breakdown, maybe even bargaining. But this calm, resolute woman, this Zara, was unstoppable. Zara called her daughters closer. "Girls, say goodbye to Papa." Amara and Zena stepped forward holding hands. Their voices were polite, composed. "Goodbye, Papa," they said. Tosin looked up, eyes watering, but he said nothing. Mama Funk could only stare, aghast at the total reversal of power. Evelyn's earlier confidence faltered, replaced with a dawning realization of instability. Zara gathered her daughters' hands and walked them to their rooms. "Let's start packing. We have a new home to prepare." By evening, boxes were ready, accounts were finalized, and Zara sent her first social media post from her new apartment. "Strength is knowing your worth, acting on it, and building your life without waiting for permission. #empowerment, #freedom." She looked at the camera briefly, then addressed her followers in a soft, determined voice. "If you've ever felt powerless, know that strength comes from preparation and self-respect. Like, comment, and subscribe to follow our journey, and never forget, you are your own foundation." As the sun dipped below the Lagos skyline, Zara stood in the doorway of her new apartment. The city stretched out before her, buzzing with life, oblivious to the quiet revolution that had just taken place. She turned to her daughters. "Welcome home," she said, smiling, and for the first time in years she felt truly whole. The morning light in Zara's new apartment was different from what she remembered in her old home. It was quieter, cleaner, hers entirely. The walls were bare, but for the first time, she felt free to fill them with memories and hope, not obligations and unspoken rules. Amara and Zena ran into the living room, exploring the space, their laughter echoing in the empty rooms. Zara watched them, her chest swelling with a mix of pride and relief. "Girls, breakfast first," she said, her tone warm but firm. "Then we unpack. Every box has a place." Amara glanced at her mother. "Mama, we're really moving out?" "Really?" "Yes, baby," Zara replied, kneeling to meet their gaze. "This is our home now. Nobody can tell us how to live here." While the girls unpacked toys and books, Zara went over her boutique's new inventory. Orders had increased after the recent social media post. Investors had reached out, impressed by her composure and clarity in both personal and professional matters. The boutique wasn't just a business anymore. It was her lifeline, her proof that independence came with discipline and vision. Her phone buzzed. She looked down to see a message from her lawyer. "All accounts secured. Apartment transfer ready. You are fully protected. No risks remain." Zara exhaled a long, steady release. Each word confirmed the freedom she had fought for silently. She sent a reply short and precise. "Thank you. Everything is under control." Later, as she walked her daughters to school, she noticed the small things that had gone unnoticed before. Neighbors' friendly waves, the hum of morning traffic, vendors selling fruit and bread. It all felt sharper, more vivid, because now it was her life, chosen, not inherited through compromise. By mid-morning, she returned home to begin unpacking personal items, arranging the apartment with the girls' input. Photos of family vacations, art projects, and small mementos adorned the walls. Each item was a reclamation of her own space, a quiet assertion of identity she had almost forgotten. Her phone buzzed again. This time, the message was from Evelyn. "Mama Funk says she hopes you're adjusting well. I wanted to ask about some things, but I don't know if now is the right time." Zara read it carefully. She could have ignored it, blocked it, or replied harshly. Instead, she chose measured distance. "Evelyn, I am adjusting. This is a process. Take care." It was a gentle boundary, firm yet without malice. She had learned that strength was not always loud. It was strategic, deliberate. Meanwhile, the fallout from the confrontation began to ripple through the lives of Tosin, Evelyn, and Mama Funk. Tosin returned to the apartment he now shared with Evelyn and Mama Funk, only to find the space smaller and colder than he remembered. The family car had been repossessed after months of unpaid loans, a consequence of the financial independence Zara had quietly secured. The apartment lease was nearing expiration, leaving them scrambling for arrangements. Evelyn, who had arrived full of hope and naivety, quickly realized that the world she had stepped into was not as she imagined. The household was tense, finances strained, and Mama Funk's manipulations had left her isolated in a sea of responsibility. She was 11 weeks pregnant, carrying the son that Mama Funk had promised would restore the family's honor. But the promise felt hollow against the instability around her. Mama Funk herself faced an unexpected isolation. Her extended family began to distance themselves, disapproving of the chaos her schemes had wrought. The power she had wielded so confidently over Zara had vanished, leaving her defensive and angry. She tried to call Zara, leaving messages filled with prayers and attempts at reconciliation, but Zara remained silent. She would respond only when it was truly necessary, if at all. Back in her new apartment, Zara focused on her daughter's emotional well-being. She had arranged therapy sessions to help them process the trauma of their father's betrayal and the manipulations they had witnessed. Amara was hesitant at first, her voice low and questioning, but Zena embraced it eagerly, eager to talk and understand. "Mama, I don't like that Papa hurt us," Amara whispered one afternoon as they sat together on the couch after a session. Zara pulled her close, stroking her hair. "I know, baby. But remember, hurt doesn't define us. How we respond does. We will be strong and we will be happy. That's what matters." The days stretched into weeks. Zara's boutique began to flourish again, new investors coming on board, impressed by her vision and resilience. Orders multiplied, social media followers increased, and she began creating workshops for other women who wanted to achieve independence. Her story, once private and painful, had become an inspiration. She posted a short video update online. "It's not easy to leave behind what you've built for others, but sometimes, your future depends on reclaiming your present. Strength isn't always loud. It's deliberate, and it's unstoppable." Like, comment, and subscribe to follow our journey. Her daughters watched her record it, wide-eyed and inspired. "Mama, you're really brave," Zena said. "I'm not brave," Zara replied, smiling. "I'm determined. There's a difference. Brave people act despite fear. Determined people prepare, plan, and act anyway. And we're unstoppable together." Meanwhile, Evelyn confronted Mama Funk about the instability surrounding the household. "I trusted you," she said, voice trembling. "I was told this would be secure, that everything would be fine. Now, I don't know what to do." Mama Funk's face twisted in frustration. "This isn't my fault. You should have been careful. Zara," she spat the name as if it were poison, "was always an obstacle." But Evelyn's resolve had shifted. She began to see the cracks in Mama Funk's manipulation and realized the stability she had been promised was an illusion. The young woman, once naive, now understood the cost of deception and control. Tosin's attempts to regain control were futile. Every argument, every plea to Evelyn, was met with skepticism and distance. He realized, too late, that power was not inherited. It was earned, and he had spent years dismissing the woman who had quietly built it around him. Zara, meanwhile, had established a rhythm in her new life. Morning routines with the girls, boutique management, therapy sessions, and careful social media updates filled her days. She moved with calm authority, a living example of self-worth, independence, and empowerment. One evening, as she closed the boutique, she looked at the camera for another live post. If you've ever been pushed down, manipulated, or made to feel invisible, remember this: your life is yours to design. Your strength is in preparation, your power is in action. Build it, own it, protect it, and never wait for permission. She smiled softly. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see how we continue to grow and thrive. This is just the beginning. The Lagos skyline stretched before her as she locked the door. The city pulsed with life, vibrant and unrelenting. She held her daughter's hands, feeling the weight of the past lift slightly with each step. They were moving forward together, strong and unbroken. For the first time in years, Zara felt complete. No one had taken this from her. She had reclaimed it herself. And as she whispered to herself, looking out over the city lights, she said, "I'm not waiting for anyone to give me a seat at the table. I build my own table, and I sit with pride." Months had passed since Zara moved into her new apartment, and life had settled into a rhythm that was wholly hers. The girls had adjusted beautifully. Amara's laughter had returned, freer and brighter than it had been in months, while Zina had developed a newfound confidence, participating in school projects and making friends more openly than before. Zara walked into the boutique that morning with a lightness she had not felt in years. The air smelled faintly of fresh flowers from the new display, and the soft hum of customers and staff gave the space a comforting energy. She greeted each employee warmly, checking inventory and confirming orders. Everything ran smoothly, not by chance but because she had designed it that way. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Evelyn. "Mama Zara, I just wanted to say thank you. I understand now. I wish things had been different, but I see the truth. I hope we can move forward without hurt." Zara read it, a small satisfied smile playing on her lips. She typed back carefully with grace and boundaries. "Thank you, Evelyn. Take care of yourself and your child. I wish you well too." Her mind wandered briefly to Tosin. He had tried to reach out several times, leaving messages that alternated between apologies and justifications, but Zara had ignored them all. It was no longer her burden to carry. She had learned that empowerment was not revenge. It was freedom, clarity, and self-respect. Later that afternoon, Zara sat with her daughters on the balcony of their new apartment. The city below pulsed with life, but above it all the girls felt safe. "Mama," Amara asked, leaning against her mother, "do you think Papa will ever change?" Zara shook her head gently, brushing a stray curl from her daughter's forehead. "People can change if they want to, baby. But it's not our job to wait for them. Our job is to take care of ourselves and each other. That's what real strength is." Zina chimed in, eyes bright with curiosity. "So, Mama, we don't have to be afraid anymore?" "No, my loves," Zara said, hugging them close. "We are safe. We are strong. And we will keep growing together." Over the next weeks, Zara's boutique thrived. Orders poured in from across Lagos, investors expressed interest in expansion, and she even hired a small team to help manage operations. Each sale, each new client, felt like a personal victory, a tangible proof that she could build something meaningful for herself and her daughters. One evening, as the girls were finishing their homework, Zara reflected on the journey that had brought her here. 12 years of marriage, countless sacrifices, subtle manipulation, and finally the betrayal that had revealed the full extent of the toxic environment she had endured. It could have crushed her, but instead, it had forged a new resilience, sharper and more deliberate than ever. Her phone buzzed again. This time a social media notification. A follower had shared her story, praising her strength and transparency. Comments poured in. Messages from women who felt empowered by her example. Young girls inspired to stand firm in their own lives. One comment read, "Your story reminds me that strength isn't just about enduring. It's about acting. Thank you for showing us how to reclaim our lives." Zara smiled softly. She took out her camera and recorded a short video for her followers. "Hello everyone," she began, voice steady and confident. "I want to share this message with anyone who's ever felt powerless. Strength isn't about waiting for someone to give you permission. Strength is preparation, determination, and action. It's about knowing your worth and never settling for less. You can build your life, your happiness, and your future. No one can take that from you." Subscribe, like, and comment below if you're ready to take control of your journey. Let's grow stronger together. After posting, she turned to her daughters. "You see, girls? Life is full of challenges, but each one is an opportunity to rise." Amara grinned. "I want to be strong like you, Mama." "You already are, baby," Zara said, kissing her forehead. "I just show you how to use it." Meanwhile, the ripple effects of Zara's actions continued to unfold. Tosin struggled with financial instability and social embarrassment. The apartment lease he had relied on for years had expired, forcing him, Evelyn, and Mama Funk into a cramped space. Evelyn, now fully aware of the manipulations, confronted Mama Funk with quiet determination, demanding accountability for the chaos she had orchestrated. "You promised stability," Evelyn said firmly, voice shaking but resolute. "We can't continue like this. Your schemes have consequences." Mama Funk's eyes darted around, searching for excuses, but none came. She realized that her influence, once absolute, had crumbled. For the first time, she experienced the isolation that Zara had endured silently for years. A fitting mirror to her own manipulations. Tosin's pride prevented him from seeking Zara's forgiveness, but he could no longer deny the depth of her preparation and foresight. She had outmaneuvered him, not out of malice, but out of necessity and self-respect. Back in their new apartment, Zara's life settled into a fulfilling rhythm. She balanced work, family, and personal growth. She enrolled her daughters in extracurricular activities, helping them discover their talents and passions. Yoga, painting, and weekend trips became part of their new tradition. One afternoon, Zara hosted a small gathering for boutique clients and friends. She shared the story of the boutique's growth, the lessons of resilience, and the importance of standing firm in one's values. The room was filled with applause, encouragement, and shared inspiration. She had not just reclaimed her life, she had become a beacon of empowerment for others. As the sun dipped behind the Lagos skyline, Zara stood on the balcony with her daughters, watching the city light up. She took a deep breath, savoring the moment of peace she had fought for so relentlessly. "I'm complete," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "I don't need anyone's validation. I am whole, I am strong, and I am free." She pulled her daughters close, feeling the warmth and love that had been her anchor throughout the turbulence. Their laughter rang out into the evening air, a melody of new beginnings and hope. Zara recorded one final message for her followers. "Remember this. No matter how hard the world tries to define your worth, it is yours to claim. Build your life, protect your happiness, and never allow anyone to diminish your strength." Like, comment, and subscribe if you believe in empowerment. Together we rise. The video posted, the boutique doors closed for the night, and Zara tucked her daughters into bed. She lingered in the doorway watching them sleep, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace. This was not the end of challenges, they would come, but now she had the tools, the strength, and the clarity to face them. Finally, she turned to her balcony, looking out over the bustling city. She whispered once more, a vow and a declaration. "I am not just surviving. I am thriving. I am building my future. And I will never forget that my strength comes from knowing my worth, protecting it, and acting with purpose." The lights of Lagos twinkled below, a testament to the life she had reclaimed. Zara had not just survived betrayal and cultural pressure. She had transformed it into freedom, growth, and unstoppable empowerment. And as the night deepened, she finally felt the full weight of victory settle around her. She was no longer bound by expectation, fear, or tradition. She was, in every sense, complete. After Zara declares, "I am complete. I am strong. I am free." Remember, your strength is in knowing your worth and taking action. Like, comment, and subscribe to follow more stories of empowerment, growth, and transformation.